We're going to dig into the issues Georgia voters care about the most. And we talk a lot about the Democrats' chances of winning Georgia in the presidential race, but even down ballot races seem to be up for grabs.
A new 11Alive poll shows what's most important to Georgia voters. Ryan Kruger takes an exclusive look.
Republican Senator David Perdue doesn't even have an opponent yet, and yet he's still barely edging out a generic Democrat in our exclusive 11Alive Survey USA poll. Let's take a look at the numbers. You see Senator Perdue polling at 40% among likely voters. The generic Democratic opponent, 37% of voters say they're going to vote for whoever it is. This is the number to pay attention to. 14% say they want to find out who that opponent is before they're making up their mind. Let's move next to Governor Brian Kemp. Obviously, he's not running in 2020, but we did take a look at his favorability ratings. 42% of those polled have either a favorable or extremely favorable view of him. Compare that to just 25% who have an unfavorable or extremely unfavorable view of him. Nearly as many say they're about neutral on his performance so far. We want to ask about some important topics here. Casino gambling appears to be pretty popular in the state. 58% of voters say they support legalizing casino gambling in Georgia. Just a quarter of the polled say they oppose it. Horse racing, a little less popular than casino gambling. Still, though, more than 50% of those polled say they do support it. And finally, we asked about assault rifle bans. Would you support prohibition of assault rifle weapons? 48% say they would support a ban on assault rifles. 39% say they would oppose such a ban. Now, we know all of these issues are important to you, so here at 11Live, we're going to keep these issues front and center, and we're going to keep coming back to them to see how they all play out.